Podcast. Real news. Analyzed by real intelligence.
Have you ever noticed how, that term teen angst, it just doesn't really cut it anymore?
Yeah,
We're diving deep into the often misunderstood world of teen depression today.
right.
And trust me, the information might surprise you.
Yeah.
We're looking at excerpts from this article, Teen Depression, Why? What Can Help? And it feels like everyone knows a teen who's struggling with this, so we're here to help you understand the complexities of what they're going through. It's more than just typical teenage moodiness, right?
It really is. The World Health Organization actually calls teen depression, get this, the predominant cause of illness and disability for those aged 10 to 19.
Wow.
Yeah, and this article features stories from teens like Anna, who describes feeling stuck in a deep, dark hole with no way out,
Wow.
and Julia, who even struggled with suicidal thoughts.
It's easy to dismiss these as just phrases.
Right.
But the persistence and severity of these symptoms is what sets teen depression apart from typical growing pains.
Exactly.
So how do we know if a teen is experiencing typical teenage ups and downs
Right.
or something more serious?
Well, imagine a teen who used to, bound out of bed,
Yeah.
and now they're struggling to even wake up. Their energy levels are just depleted. It makes it hard to focus in school, hard to do, the things they normally do. Or maybe a teen who was once a social butterfly is now withdrawing from friends and family, and you see their grades start to plummet. These could be signs that something more serious is going on.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking because it impacts their whole world. And the article talks about unexplained physical symptoms, too. What's the connection there?
That's a really important point. Sometimes depression manifests in physical ways. We're talking persistent headaches, stomach aches, fatigue, even when there's no clear medical explanation. It's a testament to that powerful mind-body connection. It's crucial not to brush these signs aside as just a phase, because early recognition and intervention are absolutely key.
Okay, so we know it's serious and we know
That's it.
how it presents, but what causes teen depression? Is it really just raging hormones like everyone seems to think?
It's tempting to oversimplify it.
Right.
But as this article points out, depression results from this complex interaction of social, psychological, and biological factors. Think of it like a perfect storm, a combination of elements that come together to create the problem.
Okay. Let's break down these elements, starting with the biological. Julia from the article mentioned that her family has a history of depression. What does that tell us?
Julia's situation is a great example of how genetics can play a significant role in depression. If a parent or close relative has struggled with depression, a teen might be genetically predisposed to it.
Okay.
It's not their destiny, thankfully. There
Right.
are other factors at play.
The article also mentions brain chemistry. Can you explain the link between brain chemistry and depression in teens?
Absolutely. Imagine your brain as this complex network of communication highways.
Okay.
Chemicals like serotonin act like messengers, influencing mood, sleep, and even appetite. Think of serotonin as your brain's feel-good messenger.
Okay.
In individuals with depression, those messages get lost, leading to persistent sadness and hopelessness.
So it's not just external factors, but also what's happening chemically in their brains. And the article mentions that, of course, hormonal changes during adolescence can play a role.
So that's right. Puberty is a time of immense hormonal shifts, which can influence brain development and, consequently, emotions. It's important to remember that hormones alone don't cause depression. They might just lower the threshold, making someone more susceptible, especially when other factors are present.
And let's not forget about substance abuse.
That's a crucial point. It's a dangerous cycle. Substance abuse can worsen existing depression or even trigger it in someone who might be predisposed.
So we've covered the biological factors, genetics, brain chemistry, hormones, and substance abuse. But then there's the whole realm of environmental and social factors. I know stress is a big one. What's considered unhealthy stress?
That's a crucial distinction. Think of it this way. A plant needs a little stress from the wind to grow strong roots,
Okay.
but a hurricane will uproot it completely.
Right.
Similarly, short-lived stress can be motivating, but when it becomes chronic, unrelenting, that's when it can wreak havoc on both the body and the mind. This is especially true for someone already genetically vulnerable to depression.
It's like constantly being in fight or flight mode, right?
Yes.
Your body is on high alert.
Exactly. And that constant state of high alert can deplete the body's resources, leaving it more susceptible to mental health challenges, including depression. It's like running a marathon without any training or rest. Eventually, you're bound to crash.
What are some of the stressors that teens today are facing?
Unfortunately, it's a long list that reflects the realities of many young lives today.
Yeah.
We're talking about family dynamics like divorce, separation, death of a loved one, or even just constant unpredictability in the home environment. Those can be incredibly unsettling for a teenager already navigating so many changes.
And then there are the traumas that some teens face: abuse, bullying, serious accidents, or even a personal illness. Those aren't just bad days, those are life-altering events.
You're absolutely right. These experiences can leave deep emotional scars and make a teen question their safety, their worth, their place in the world.
And on top of all of that, you have the pressure cooker of social pressures and expectations. The
Yeah.
article mentions parental expectations, particularly around academics.
Absolutely. We live in a culture obsessed with achievement, and sometimes those expectations, even if well-intentioned, can be crushing for teens. They might feel like they're constantly striving for a finish line that keeps moving further away.
And then there's social media, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
It really is a double-edged sword.
Right.
On the one hand, it can be a great tool for connection.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it often presents this airbrushed, curated version of reality that can leave teens feeling inadequate, envious, or even bullied.
It's a lot, and when you combine all of that with the uncertainty about the future, it's no wonder some teens feel overwhelmed and lost. It's like they're carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders.
It can absolutely feel that way. And this brings us to another point highlighted in the article, the experience of emotional estrangement, particularly from a depressed parent. Imagine trying to navigate your own turbulent emotions while also witnessing a parent struggle with theirs.
Right.
It can be incredibly isolating and confusing.
That's heartbreaking. It's like they're being robbed of the emotional support they desperately need during a time when everything feels shaky.
Exactly. And this lack of a secure, supportive emotional foundation can make them even more vulnerable to the storms of life.
So we've covered quite a bit, from the biological underpinnings to the environmental and social stressors that can contribute to teen depression. Knowing what contributes to this issue is the first step toward addressing it.
Absolutely. It allows us to move from a place of judgment or dismissal to one of empathy and understanding. It allows us to say, this is real, this is complex, and there is help available.
And we're back. Before the break, we talked about the many factors that contribute to teen depression. Let's shift gears now and talk about the path to healing. I'm glad this article doesn't sugarcoat things. It's really clear about the need for professional help.
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
Just as you wouldn't hesitate to see a doctor for a physical ailment, right? We need to approach mental health with that same level of care and urgency. This article quotes a powerful statement from Jesus. Those who are strong do not need a physician, but those who are ill do. It's a good reminder that seeking help for your mental health is a sign of strength, not a weakness.
So what does professional help look like? Is it as simple as just taking medication?
Medication can be a game changer for some. It can really help to regulate brain chemistry and alleviate some of the debilitating symptoms. Think of it like resetting those communication channels in the brain. But it's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
The article also emphasizes the importance of counseling. Why is talking to a mental health professional so crucial?
Imagine, like, carrying a heavy backpack full of rocks.
Okay.
Counseling provides this safe, supportive space to unpack those rocks, to process the thoughts, the feelings, and experiences that are weighing you down.
Right.
It's about gaining coping mechanisms, developing self-awareness, and ultimately learning to navigate life's challenges with greater resilience.
It's like having a guide on your journey, helping you navigate that rough terrain.
Exactly. And a good therapist will tailor their approach based on your individual needs, because what works for one person might not work for another.
And here's where I find it gets really interesting. The article doesn't just stop at professional help.
Right.
It also emphasizes the importance of lifestyle changes as well.
Absolutely.
It's that powerful mind-body connection again, isn't it?
It's impossible to separate the two. Think of it like caring for a garden. You can't just water it once a month and expect it to thrive. It needs consistent nourishment, sunlight, and care. Our minds and bodies are the same way.
What are some of the key lifestyle changes that the article suggests?
The most impactful changes are often the simplest ones that we tend to overlook. Eating a healthy diet, rich in fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, provides the essential nutrients our brains need to function optimally.
It's like fueling your brain power.
Yeah.
And it's not just about what we put in our bodies, but also how we move our bodies.
Absolutely. Regular exercise isn't just about physical health. It's a powerful mood booster. It releases endorphins, those feel-good chemicals that can combat stress and even alleviate some symptoms of depression.
I've always found that even a brisk walk can make a world of difference. Clears the cobwebs.
I couldn't agree more. And speaking of clearing cobwebs, let's not forget the importance of adequate sleep. During sleep, our brains work tirelessly to process emotions, consolidate memories, and recharge for the day ahead.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Exactly.
But we all know that getting enough sleep is sometimes easier said than done, especially for teenagers.
You're absolutely right. That's why establishing a consistent sleep routine is so important, even on weekends. It helps regulate the body's natural sleep-wake cycle, promoting more restful sleep.
This all sounds great, but what about those moments when the darkness kind of creeps in unexpectedly? What do you do then?
That's where the concept of an emotional first aid kit comes in.
Oh.
It's like having this toolbox full of coping mechanisms tailored to your needs.
I love that. Tell me more.
It starts with recognizing your triggers. Those situations, people, or even thought patterns that kind of send you spiraling.
Yeah.
Once you're aware of your triggers, you can start to develop healthy coping strategies to kind of head them off at the pass.
It's like creating a mental game plan so you're not caught off guard.
Exactly. And this game plan should include things that bring you joy, comfort, or a sense of peace. The article mentions some great ideas. Create a playlist of uplifting music. Surround yourself with positive affirmations or inspiring quotes, or even keep a journal to process your emotions.
It's like having a mental health arsenal at your disposal.
Precisely. And the beauty of it is that it can be personalized. For some, faith-based resources might provide comfort. For others, it might be connecting with a trusted friend, spending time in nature, or engaging in a creative outlet. The key is to identify what works for you and have those tools readily available when you need them.
So it's about being proactive rather than reactive.
Exactly. It's about empowering yourself to take control of your mental well-being.
And speaking of empowerment, this article touches on the specific challenges faced by teenage girls.
Right.
What makes their experience with depression unique?
Sadly, statistics show that teenage girls are disproportionately affected by depression, and there are several factors at play.
We're back for the final part of our deep dive into teen depression. We've talked about the many causes, the importance of professional help,
Right.
and how lifestyle changes can really help.
Yeah.
But this isn't just an individual issue, right?
Right.
The rising rates of depression in young people, it feels like it points to these larger societal issues that we need to kind of address. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. The teen mental health crisis should be a wake-up call for all of us.
Yeah.
It reflects the world we've created, one with immense pressure, unrealistic expectations, and a constant barrage of information.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It can feel like you're drowning, even as an adult.
Right.
And for teenagers who are already trying to stay afloat in the choppy waters of adolescence, it's no wonder they're struggling.
So how do we, as a society, start creating a safer, more supportive environment for these teens? Well, I think it starts with open and honest conversations, just like we're having now. We have to break down the stigma surrounding mental health. We need to normalize the idea that it's okay to not be okay,
Right.
and that asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
We need to give each other, especially the teens in our lives, permission to be human, right?
Yes.
With all of our flaws and our vulnerabilities, what are some of the ways we can start doing that?
Well, I think it's important to be mindful of the messages we're sending, both consciously and unconsciously.
Yeah.
Are we promoting this culture of achievement at all costs?
Right.
Are we perpetuating these unrealistic beauty standards? Are we, as the adults in their lives, modeling healthy coping mechanisms? These are hard questions, but I think they're important ones to ask. It's true, systemic change takes time. But are there things we can do in our daily lives to make a difference, like right now?
Yes, absolutely. It can be as simple as being more present and attentive to the teens in our lives.
Okay.
Put down the phones, turn off the distractions, and really listen not just to the words they're saying,
Right.
but to the emotions behind their words.
Be an active listener. Show them that you care about what they have to say.
Exactly. And beyond listening, create a safe space for them to open up without fear of judgment or dismissal.
Okay.
Let them know that their feelings are valid, that their struggles are real, and that they don't have to face them alone. Be a source of support, a steady presence in their, often turbulent world.
And sometimes being that source of support means encouraging them to seek professional help. Right. It might even mean having those hard conversations and guiding them toward resources that can give them the tools and support that they need. At the end of the day, it's about showing up for them, with love, with compassion, and a willingness to walk alongside them on their journey, no matter how challenging it may seem.
Beautifully said. Be a beacon of hope.
Mm.
Remind them that even in the darkest of times, there is always light, always a way forward. Sometimes just knowing that someone sees their struggle, that they're not alone, can make all the difference.
Yeah.
It's amazing how even small acts of kindness and compassion can have this ripple effect.
I wholeheartedly agree. Every conversation, every act of empathy, every effort to break down stigma brings us one step closer to creating a world where our young people feel seen, heard, and supported. It's been a really insightful conversation, and I think this information will help our listeners support the teens in their life.
I hope so.
We covered a lot today. We talked about how teen depression is a complex issue
Yes.
with biological, psychological, and social roots. It's so much more than just hormones or teen angst, and it requires a multifaceted approach to healing.
It really does.
And while the challenges are real and the statistics can feel overwhelming, there is always hope. It all starts with each of us choosing empathy over judgment, connection over isolation, and action over apathy.
Beautifully said.
And if our conversation today sparked even a flicker of awareness or a desire to learn more about teen depression, then we've accomplished something meaningful. We'll leave you with this final thought. Could understanding your own emotional landscape be the key to better supporting a teen in your life? It's something to think about as we navigate this complex world together. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
I am podcast. Real news analyzed by real intelligence.